Hello, I'm Tom Gensel, PSBA's Executive Director. Governor Tom Corbett has presented his proposed 2011-12 state budget. And quite frankly, it's not a great budget for public education. There are some big cuts in state funding for public schools. But in some ways, this wasn't really a surprise. The governor ran on a campaign pledge of not raising taxes and pledging to really trim state spending to fit available revenues. And since education is one of the major areas in the state budget, we knew that we were probably in for some pretty big cuts. And of course, all of that was made worse by the loss of federal stimulus money starting next year. So we're looking at some major cuts. We're hoping that we can get some of them restored. We're certainly talking to the legislature about the progress that school districts have made over the last few years with the investments that state government has approved for public education. But in all of this, I think there's also an opportunity. The governor talked about relieving the burden of state mandates on school districts. And this part of his message was particularly welcomed because, as you probably know, PSBA has been talking about mandate relief for a very long time. Because the fact of the matter is that every dollar that we can save in mandate relief is equally as valuable as a dollar in new state appropriations. And a lot of the money that we're spending in public education is devoted to complying with laws and regulations and requirements that often have very little, if anything, to do with the quality of instruction in the classroom. So the governor has pledged his support, and I'm happy to say that many legislators in both the House and the Senate are moving fairly quickly to provide relief from burdensome mandates. And a great example of this is legislation that's now moving in the General Assembly to give districts the authority to furlough for economic reasons. Current law does not allow a school board to lay off professional employees even if you don't have the money to pay them. That doesn't make any sense. So the economic furlough law would allow those kinds of layoffs. We're certainly not calling for massive layoffs of teachers. We just think that school boards should have the same tools in your toolbox that every other unit of government has and that private industry has as well. But there are some caveats here. And an important one is that some folks are trying to tie down this legislation with a requirement that the layoffs can only occur based on seniority. We think that's a very big mistake. The legislature trusts school boards to hire employees. The legislature should trust school boards to make the decisions about which ones should stay based on the programmatic needs of the school district. But we are encouraged that this legislation will pass, and we're working closely with the administration and the legislative leadership. And I think this is a great example, by the way, of the need for a strong association working on behalf of school districts, because this is a priority and we're pledging to do everything we can to get it enacted. There are a whole series of other mandate relief bills being considered dealing with relief from the prevailing wage law, changing bidding requirements, changing school nurse requirements. These are moving in and out of committees, and we're supporting them. We hope that the legislature is serious about passing them. But here again, another caution. Every mandate that's now in place was put there because some special interest group was effective in getting it passed in the first place. And so we believe that we need to try to get broad-based relief for public schools. And fighting these issues one at a time can take a long time and take a lot of effort to overcome the opposition of some of those interest groups that we can count on to try to defend the mandates they've had enacted. So we're also pushing for a broad-based mandate waiver law that would give school boards the authority to identify the mandates that are most troublesome to you, the ones that drive up the cost of education, get in the way of efficient operations, so that you have much more flexibility. All of this is part of what we're calling our Free Plus initiative, focusing resources on educational expenses. This was an effort we initiated in the last legislative session, and we're renewing this year, expanding our focus and working with many, many legislators to try to give school districts relief from mandates. The time is right. So while we will continue to work to do what we can on the funding side of the equation, we think that's extremely important. We also believe that the door has been opened to broad-based mandate relief. And I encourage you, as a school board and as a school management team, to be talking to your legislators about this right now. This is when the legislature is getting very serious about these issues. We need your support. There's a lot more information on our website, psba.org, and certainly we welcome your questions and comments at any time. Thank you. I look forward to talking with you again soon.